Hi everyone, today I'm sharing some soup recipes which I find are really good for when you're feeling a little bit under the weather, but they are just some of my favourite soup recipes in general. The first recipe I have for you is for a minestrone soup. For this, first heat 1 tablespoon of rapeseed oil in a pan, and whilst that's warming up, finely chop 1 white onion and then add that into the pan. Fry that off and then mince 2 cloves of garlic. Add those in next and allow them to soften. Peel 1 large carrot and chop it into small cubes. Add that to the pan and then chop up 2 sticks of celery. Add that in as well and fry everything off together for a few minutes. And next add in 1 pinch of cayenne pepper, half a teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of fresh thyme and a bay leaf. Coat the vegetables in the herbs and spices and then add in 1 tablespoon of tomato puree. Next, peel 1 large potato and cut it into cubes. Add it to the pan along with 1 tin of cannelloni beans, 2 tins of chopped tomatoes, a litre of vegetable stock, and season it well with salt and black pepper. Give everything a good stir together, then bring it up to a boil before then turning the heat back down and covering the pan. After 20 minutes, add in 1 cup of whole wheat pasta and 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. Stir it through and allow it to continue cooking for around 8 minutes until the pasta is al dente. Once it's done, serve it whilst it's hot with some fresh basil as a garnish on the top. I like to add in the nutritional yeast to give it a little bit of a cheesy flavour, as minestrone soup is usually served with parmesan on top. There are so many flavours and textures in this soup. It's like a big bowl of comfort. I always remember when I was younger and I was sick, minestrone was my go-to soup, and a homemade version is so much more delicious. It's packed full of so much goodness. I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling sick, I like to just cozy up with my big bowl of soup and a blanket, really allow my body the time to rest and just do things that I don't always have the time or don't put the time aside to do. One of those being listening to my audiobook. Today's video is kindly sponsored by Audible. Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio, shows, news, comedy and more, and Audible have kindly offered my viewers an exclusive 30-day free trial and a free book of your choice. Just simply go to audible.com/JessBeautician or text JessBeautician to 500 500. The audiobook I'm currently listening to is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. It's brilliant, really well written, very funny in parts, but also heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. I am thoroughly enjoying it so far. I like using Audible because I'm able to do other things whilst I'm listening to my audiobook. It's great for travel or on the go, and I just find it really relaxing. So again, it's perfect for days when I'm not feeling so great. Don't forget, you can get your free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. There is a link in the description box for this below this video. The next recipe I have for you is a vegetable noodle soup. Start by melting down 1 teaspoon of coconut oil in a large pan, and meanwhile finely slice 1 red onion. Add the onion to the pan, then mince 3 cloves of garlic and add those in next, along with 1 thumb-sized piece of fresh grated ginger. Next, half a red chilli. Reserve half for garnishing and finely chop the other half. Add that to the pan and then slice up 1 red pepper and add that to the pan too. Fry everything off together for around 3 minutes. Next, mince 2 sticks of lemongrass and add that to the pan along with 1 can of coconut milk, 4 cups of vegetable stock and 2 tablespoons of tamari. Stir everything well, then bring it up to a gentle boil and leave it to simmer for around 25 minutes. Over in another smaller pan, boil some water and then add in your portion of rice noodles and allow them to cook for around 5 minutes. Meanwhile, add 1 pak choi to the broth along with the juice of 1 lime and continue to leave it to simmer until the rice noodles are done. Once the rice noodles are cooked, drain them off and then transfer them over to a bowl of cold water and leave them to sit in that for another 5 minutes. At this point, your vegetable broth is pretty much done, so drain off the noodles again, serve them up in a bowl, and then ladle in your vegetable broth. I like to add in the onions, the peppers, etc., but you can leave these out if you don't fancy them. And then finally add the pak choi on top, and I just garnish mine with the rest of the sliced red chilli, some fresh coriander, and a wedge of fresh lime. This is honestly my ultimate comfort food when I'm sick. I want nothing more than just a big bowl of vegetable broth, veggies and rice noodles. It's creamy, it's a little bit spicy, there's so much flavour from the lemongrass, the coconut milk, the ginger, all some of my favourite flavours, and all work so well together. There's also so much goodness in one bowl, and it's just so colourful and appetising to look at. It's one of those soups that does get a little bit messy, but to be honest, those are the best kind of soups. The next recipe is for a roast tomato and garlic soup. First, preheat the oven to 200 degrees Celsius and then roughly chop 1 white onion. Peel 6 cloves of garlic, I use smoked garlic, and roughly chop 6 large vine tomatoes. Add the onions, the garlic and the tomatoes to a roasting dish, and then drizzle over 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Add in a pinch of cayenne pepper, half a teaspoon of paprika, 2 teaspoons of dried basil, 2 teaspoons of dried parsley, and 1 tablespoon of fresh thyme. Season it well with salt and black pepper, and then turn everything through. Place that in the oven to roast for around 35 minutes. After 35 minutes, remove the dish from the oven. By this time, the tomatoes should be nicely roasted and slightly caramelised, and then transfer everything over to a food processor to blend it until it's smooth. Transfer the soup over to a large pan and warm it through gently. Then add in 1 cup of passata, 1 cup of vegetable stock, and season more if necessary. Allow that to cook for around another 15 minutes before serving. I served mine with some coconut yogurt drizzled over the top, some hemp seeds, and also some fresh basil leaves. Tomato soup is one of my favourite kind of soups, and I love making it in so many different ways, but roasting the tomatoes first just gives so much more flavour and depth to the whole soup. As I said, I use smoked garlic in this, which obviously gives the soup a slightly smoked flavour, but you could just use regular garlic instead. It's warming, it's comforting, and when I'm sick, a tomato soup is something I always crave. And the last recipe is more of a stew than a soup, but it's quinoa, butterbean and spinach. For this, heat 1 teaspoon of rapeseed oil in a large pan, and meanwhile finely chop 1 white onion. Add that into the pan, and then next mince 3 cloves of garlic. Add those to the pan too, and fry everything off until soft. Next, add in a pinch of cayenne pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, half a teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of coriander, a teaspoon of turmeric and a bay leaf. Fry everything off together for a few minutes, then add in 1 tablespoon of tomato puree, 1 cup of rinsed and drained quinoa. Again, fry that off for a few more minutes, and then add in 1 tin of tomatoes, 1 can of coconut milk, 3 cups of vegetable stock, and season it really well with some salt and black pepper. Mix everything together and then turn up the heat. Bring the soup up to a boil and then leave it to simmer for around 25 minutes. 10 minutes before it's done, add in 1 can of butter beans. I use the Mr. Organic butter beans for this, and 2 large handfuls of fresh spinach. Stir everything well one last time and let it finish cooking before serving it up. I just finished mine with some fresh chopped coriander on the top. As I said, this is more of a stew than a soup, but I always prefer my soups quite thick and chunky anyway, as opposed to a watery soup. Again, so much goodness in here. There's so much protein from the quinoa and butter beans. iron from the spinach, and I find the spices, especially like turmeric and ginger, have really great healing properties. So again, it's perfect for when you're feeling ill. And those are my 4 soup recipes. They will all be written up in the description box below, as well as any other information. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye!